Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at the subreddit r/maliciouscompliance, where people conform to the letter but not the spirit of a request. If you're new around here, please do hit subscribe down below so that you never miss out on another video. But for now, let's sit back, relax, and enjoy some malicious compliance. No trainers? Fine. This story was from my aunt, who told us at a family gathering last weekend. So, my aunt lived in Croydon, in London, in the 80s, alone, and often bored with nothing to do. Therefore, whenever anyone would visit, she would like to make an event of it and go out and party. So, one weekend, her friend comes down to visit from somewhere in the countryside, I believe in Yorkshire, where she worked on a farm. She came down and drove herself and my aunt into town for the evening. I was assured that they got a taxi home. It was a Saturday night where many of the clubs were open with strict bouncers and different events running. However, what they all had in common was one rule: footwear. This was a nightmare for them, as they both happened to be wearing sneakers. They tried every club and bar in the street, who all had signs regulating smart shoes, all apart from one club called Cinderella's, where the sign had written "No trainers," reinforced by the bouncer/doorman, "You're not getting in if you're wearing trainers." Cue malicious compliance. After a quick back and forth with the doorman, it was decided that they were not getting in with their current footwear. Then, my aunt's friend has an idea and tells my aunt to come back with her to the car. They return to the club and the doorman can't believe it. He sees my aunt and her friend returning wearing welly boots. Remember, my aunt's friend was a farmer and fortunately had them in the boot/trunk. The bouncer laughs and says that they can enter on this occasion as it was such a creative and ridiculous workaround to his rule. Remember, this is my aunt's story that I am retelling, so some details may not be completely accurate, but I have tried my best to share with you. Hope you enjoyed. I thought it was class. As soon as I read, oh, Cinderella, I was expecting them to go with no shoes on, because when Cinderella lost a shoe. But yeah, the welly works too. You can't sit here without spending $1. My wife and I are in this amusement park with some friends, and we split off because it was a hot day. We go into this restaurant that is completely empty, and a sign is posted. Each individual must spend $1 to sit in the restaurant. Whatever. I go up and get a 99-cent water, and my wife gets a $3 coffee. We pay together. We go to sit down, and after a waitress comes up to us, she states that I need to spend 1 more cent to sit in the AC. I'm angry, so I go up to the cash register and hand them $5. "And what would you like, sir?" "Pick something up and pour it down the sink. Keep the change." I go back to my seat, and a few minutes later, the waitress comes back with my $5. "We talked it over, and since no one is in here, you can just sit here." Eye roll. Awful management. Yeah, they definitely purposely did that at 99 cents, just so you have to order something else. It's a lot of those online shopping codes where it's like, oh, free shipping at $100, but the item that you want is like $97.99 or $99.99. It's just like, you need to spend a tiny bit more. That's the wrong kind of tank. Not my malicious compliance, but one from London. With the UK being the UK, you need permission from the council to do anything on your plot of land. One gentleman owned a plot of land on Mandela Way in London and wanted to develop some property on the land. However, the council did not want this to go through and so turned him down. Cue his malicious compliance. He wrote to the council asking to put a tank on the land. The council thought he meant a septic tank. What he in fact meant was a T-34 Russian tank used during the Prague Spring of 1968. When he placed the tank on the land, he pointed the barrel in the direction of the council building as a final screw you. The council cannot remove it, as technically they gave him full permission to place the tank on the land. I don't understand why you need to ask the council for everything. Okay, yes, sometimes you're gonna make it ugly and not appealing, but most of the time if you want to build something, it's probably gonna be nice. Gossiping mothers screws each other. I'm the supervisor of a tutoring center, and for a few weeks now, I've had to deal with 2 women who have made it such a pain that my boss told me to just tell them to call him directly. That's how bad it was. Some examples include gossiping about prices they were never quoted, services they never received, and then asking to receive what they had heard, including paying $119 when our minimal program is $160. Anyhow, names have been changed. Claire, the little girl in our care who needs a lot of help, Claire's mother, who's Claire's mother, me, OP. Hi, Jason's mother pays $160 and I pay $189. Yes, that's because you have added the extra homework option. But Jason also receives homework. He does? Let me check. After checking, thank you for bringing this to me. I shall ensure Jason does not receive homework from here on out. What? I will tell the tutors not to give Jason homework, as he is not signed up with the homework program. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. Oh, she turned and left with this look of defeat on her face. We all know what she wanted. And now there's a big group of women who are all talking about Claire's mother, and it's probably not going to be nice things. Submit what I have right now? Will do. In the past, I worked for a civil engineer, essentially working as an engineering intern despite lacking the certifications to be one officially. In effect, I could, and did, do anything he could, but it all needed signed off on by him, in the end, since he was the licensed engineer and I was, officially, just a CAD technician. However, despite me not actually being licensed, my work and troubleshooting abilities were good enough that he rarely looked at any of it except if I brought a part to his attention for clarification, or to suggest possible altercations or concerns. This involves one of those concerns. We were set up to do the site design for the new location of a moving business into an urban development area. The client was trying to save money, so instead of getting us to survey the site for them, they went with the lowest bidder and used someone else. That surveyor sent us the file, and I go to get started, but see that the survey is dated 10 years previously. I point this out, the boss informs client, they go to surveyor, and the next day I get a new file dated 2 days previous, but it was the same file. They didn't resurvey, they just put a new date on the old file. You go cheap, you get cheap. Boss's take when I pointed it out was, not our problem, we can't verify site conditions, that's what the survey is for. If it's not accurate, that will be his problem. We have a stamped survey saying that that's what's there, so design that. I wasn't happy with this, as I figured we should at least let the client know, but he was the boss. So I get designing. We end up with some tricky issues due to the way stormwater currently entered and left the property, combined with the very strict city codes for the plot, due to the urban development they had going in the area. Have to make sure everything is pretty for visitors to the city, and it matches everything that will be built around it. I finally get everything to code after some back and forth with codes department to make sure there won't be any surprises when we go to the planning meeting for permits. And just for curiosity, while waiting for the boss to come and approve submitting stamped copy to the head of codes for final pre-approval, I pulled up the city's land tracking software and looked at the site. I immediately noticed some issues. Via the satellite imagery and street view photos, I could see that there was a 5-lane road fronting the site, not the 2-lane road in the survey. Additionally, actual conditions showed power poles on the property, an existing building foundation, and that neighbouring businesses' parking lot extended into property and had a sturdy fence built around it. None of that was on the survey. A quick bit of searching found that the road had been expanded 5 years previously, well after the survey of 10 years ago, in anticipation of the upcoming plans for developing the area. With all of these things in mind, our design would actually be building into the roadway. Our sidewalk was directly over the existing power pole, and part of our client's building would be in the neighbours' encroaching parking. I grabbed the satellite photo and loaded it into our drawings underneath our design, so that I could show my boss the problem. And it was a big problem, since the design was now very out of code if you consider actual conditions. If we submitted and got approval as it was, then the day contractors went to site, they'd have to stop and report to the city, and the city would shut everything down and require inquiry and full restart of the project approval process. Costly just from standpoint of the normal process fees, which would have to be paid all over again for a new project, but additionally costs for any number of issues if the city wanted to make a point. And if the contractor wasn't smart enough not to start working when the site didn't match the plans, there could be even larger fees. Additionally, contractors bid based on the work expected using the plan's depictions of existing conditions versus planned development, and existing parking lot, fence, building foundation, and potential electrical, sewer or water to be removed, as well as a power pole to be relocated, would be a large additional cost that contractors wouldn't know to bid during the process and would delay construction once on site, plus negotiation of additional costs for the unexpected work. I interrupted the boss to bring this to his attention immediately, because the client was on a deadline to get new business open, and letting this play out would put him months behind. Boss looked it over and said, "Not our problem. He didn't want to use us for his surveying. Let him deal with it. When it all goes down, the client will just end up having to use us for the survey, and we'll get to do the project a second time. Package up what you already have and send it now." And he walked off. This attitude ticked me off. What boss basically meant was, we can get paid twice for the same project without any liability, so I don't care. And this wasn't the first time he'd pulled things like this, knowingly screwing over a client because he knew he couldn't be held liable and he'd get more money if he didn't help with the client out. I was already on my way to the door with only a week or so left at the business, so I decided to do what he told me and packaged up what I had, which included the layer showing actual conditions, and sent it to the head of codes. Now, this individual was the OCD type. Not necessarily a bad thing when dealing with verifying things are to code, but he could be a pain to work with as well. He personally went over the entirety of anything submitted to him, and was not shy about returning a 50+ page document because of a typo. So I knew that my slip up wouldn't slip by him. When he saw it, he obviously had some questions. A public works surveying team ended up being sent to the site and confirmed actual conditions did not match those submitted. Turned into a bit of a mess, which my boss ended up not liable for, legally anyway, and did require a restart of the project. Given that the satellite image had not been in our submitted files though, the client, rightly, assumed boss knew of the issue already and decided not to use him for the redesign. Boss got upset at me, but I just told him I must have missed turning off that layer in the program before generating the PDF to submit. That happens here and there when you're dealing in files with large numbers of layers, some that are set to be visible but not print, when a checkbox isn't checked or unchecked properly. It's one reason why the final project is supposed to be printed off and manually reviewed by the licensed engineer before it goes out, so he really couldn't do anything to me over it. And I moved on as planned shortly after. Doubt he learned from that incident, but one can hope. Also, from what I know of that particular head of codes, anything coming from my boss's office is probably subject to a much closer review now. I don't know what to think about this because the boss was going to maliciously comply and get like double the pay, so that could have been a good thing, but then ethically speaking, the OP actually maliciously complied with his boss and sent over the files. So it's kind of a double malicious compliance, but it depends what your ethics are, I guess. Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like. And if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching and I will see you very soon.